7.
It might be 8. I don't know. It might be 7.
Check the podcast real quick.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 7. Lucky number. And I was just talking to you about 7. Weird. Anyway, hey guys, this is the 7th episode of What Makes the Heart Beat, Season 3. I'm one of your hosts, Katie Saw.
And I'm Moriah. Good to have you back.
This is great. We have been thinking about doing this episode for a really long time. I feel like we say that every week now. We're like,
We d
one of these months we'll get to it.
there's always one every season I feel like that we're tossing around and we'll get to that one when we're ready to talk about it. We'll find the right spot for it. And now we have it. Now we have the right spot. Lucky number 7.
Yeah, and it's about Hollywood.
Mhm.
Mariah and I both lived in Hollywood.
Yeah, but not
A different
together.
dude, we both went to Temple University, but not together.
Mhm.
Like it's so we were both actresses, but never were actually in a show, play, anything
Wait,
together.
we were, but not together. We were in business
Well,
as usual.
yeah,
Remember
but
that?
yes, but we were not on set at the same day. We
No,
weren't
we
in a
weren't.
scene together. So anyway, so this is just another one of our fun crossing overs that didn't actually cross over. But so yeah, so we're gonna get into Hollywood. We're gonna talk about what our experiences were while living there and kind of who we were before and who we were after. And then we're definitely gonna get kind of into the nitty-gritty stuff of Hollywood today, its history and its past over the
Mhm.
last 100 plus years and then get into a little bit of like art. And so, definitely stick around for that because me and Mariah were just like putting some ideas around and, you know, what is the purpose of art? Like what is television? Like it's basically an art form. And so maybe we'll get into like theater and maybe what its purpose was. And yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think you're on a good track. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Oh, and streaming services. We're going to talk about like streaming and kind of why the industry is changing right now and
yeah,
how it's changing and how much we can actually be influencers for its future.
yeah. Well,
So
and
we're going to go,
everybody's scared of that word influencer, but the truth is that there's all different types of influence. There's good, there's bad, there's negative, there's positive, and I think we all want to always leave a positive impression out there, right? So let's,
yeah. And I also think it's the future because, we'll get into it, but like I feel
yeah.
like the celebrity is dying
Mm.
and influencers are going to be like the new thing.
The idea of what celebrities were once, right? And that's where we dive right into Hollywood because, well, Katie, why did you move to Hollywood? Why did you want to go there?
I feel like that was like where I fit in because being from Northeast Philly, I was super bright, super over the top. I had a YouTube show that was kind of big at the time in like 2006, 2007. And I moved out to LA in 2008, right when the economy crashed. There was a huge recession that happened like literally the month before I moved out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved out there in October
Mm-hmm.
2008. And I moved out there with 3 girls that I worked with, so there was 4 of us, and we lived in this one-bedroom apartment when we first got there, and we were just so it was just like it's such a, like, powerful place in making you feel like you're bigger in a way, like you're just bigger than life itself, and, like, anything could happen, and, we lived in the 1 bedroom, and we were all sleeping on the floor. I had a Katy bed that I've, like, literally brought
The
through my
Katie bed.
entire life. I know,
Oh
it
my God, do
sounds
you
so
still have
silly.
it?
I do not. It actually got rid of when I left to go to Florida.
Oh my God, did Ronnie ever see the Katie bed?
It actually, like we got rid of it, like, the month I met him, and it wasn't on purpose, but I think that thing, like, needed to go.
It was time to say goodbye.
It was in, like, way too many shore houses, and, like, I think way too many people did the dirty on that thing. Like if you could even count, like, so yeah.
It had its own list. I get you.
In a
I
shore
get
house,
you.
anything could happen. So
All right, so back to
yeah, so
back
Hollywood,
to
Hollywood,
Hollywood.
Hollywood. So
Well,
yes,
for just real
The
quick,
Katie bed came to Hollywood.
it
Yes.
came, and that's where you slept. So,
So yeah, Tom, ask me, ask me.
well, I was gonna say, like, I just want to know what you thought, like, the minute did you play Miley Cyrus? Like, were you blasting a party in the USA? Like, what did you do?
Oh my
Like,
God,
what was
that's
your first day?
so funny that you say that because I wasn't blasting her the first day, but I was blasting her the day that I left.
That's so funny.
It was the mountain one. There's always gonna be another mountain that's always gonna have to climb. I forget the words, but
Yeah, the climb.
climb. And so because like I like was leaving. So yeah, so in my story, I only lasted like 10.5 months before I went home.
Oh
And it was
man.
like a whirlwind. So we were in a one bedroom apartment and then we finally found something that we liked and it was off San Vicente Boulevard. So it was kind of like I can't think if it's East LA.
I
Anyway,
actually don't know where that boulevard is.
San
San what?
Vicente, the San Vicente, like it's like below. It's not on the Hollywood hillside. It's like on the other side of Hollywood
Oh,
Boulevard. So it's
okay.
like a little bit further down until you get to
Yeah, a
like
couple boulevards down.
yeah. So and this one's kind of like sideways, so it kind of goes right through that whole neighborhood. And so we were off of that and we were about 2 blocks away from like I think a bad neighborhood. And so we lived in that house for November and December.
Okay.
In December, I went home and I got my dog, my puppy, Superstar. I got her that Christmas. And so
Aw.
I brought her back to Hollywood with me, and that's where she grew up. And so when so fast forward. Okay, so like the four of us are living in this apartment. We've only been living there for like 3 months.
Okay.
And it's your birthday. I'll never forget this because I remember calling you that day and saying happy birthday. And like happy birthday. My house just got robbed
I
because
remember
I
that.
was literally in an acting class and I was on stage, like pouring my heart out into a scene. And I only lived like 2 blocks away from, I'm sorry. My acting class was only 2 blocks away from where I
From where
lived.
you're okay.
And so I'm like pouring my heart out on stage and then I like my scene's over. So I go back to change into my outfit. So I like get to look at my phone real quick and I have like a message from my roommate saying, get home. Like our house was just robbed. And I was like, holy crap, my brand new puppy is on my bed like
Oh
my
my
superstar.
God.
So I'm like a mess. I like run to the car. I get home in like literally 2 minutes, and the cops are all in there. They're not letting us in there yet. And it's like a movie. I'm like, my dog's in there. Like, and like somebody had like one of the cops had to like check and be like, Miss, your dog is fine. And so I was like, oh my God, my dog's alive. And so what happened was is that somebody and they figured they probably saw there was just four young girls living in this house. They broke down the back door, took everything like computers, like important papers, jewelry from the
Aw.
two roommates that were in the back two rooms.
Yeah.
And I just so happened to be trying to change the doorknob on my bedroom door that day. So I like it was like and I couldn't figure it out because I was like, obviously I had no idea how to do it. And so I just had no doorknob. And so the robbers actually skipped my room and then went to the fourth bedroom across the way. And you could tell that they had looked around in there a little bit. But at that moment, the roommate that texted me, she had just pulled into the driveway. And they
Oh
had like a
my God.
lookout guy at like the front door. So as soon as the car pulled into the driveway, they like left really quick out the back door.
Yeah.
So here I am. I had a 8-week-old puppy, or maybe 10 weeks at this time, sitting on my bed. I was looking around my room. I literally had all my jewelry like out. I didn't put it away. And then my safe in the closet, I had literally left the key to my safe in the keyhole. And I was like, oh my God, they literally would have hit the jackpot if they had walked into my room.
It didn't have a doorknob. Stop taking all my doorknobs off.
So Anyway, like thank God because I have Superstar still, and she's about to turn 15 next month. So it's been 15 years since I moved to LA, literally next month. And which is wild to think that it's been that long.
Yeah, you've got her as like that miles, like she'll always let you know like how long it's been. That's wild.
Yeah, yeah. So whatever. So then I had the classic story of like living on couches. And
Mm-hmm.
so luckily for me, because of like my YouTube show, I had a lot of friends on the internet that all lived in LA.
So
So
you moved out. You said I'm getting out of
we
this.
were like so freaked out because we knew
Yeah.
like we were like, okay, we're not in the bad neighborhood. I get it, but it is only 2 blocks like down. So
Yeah.
you have people that like could always just come up and we just didn't feel safe at all.
Yeah.
So we got out of our lease. But at this point, like I hadn't even found a job yet. Let's just talk about that for a second. Literally ripping through my savings. I had gotten a brand new, oh no, it was used, a used, but like only 2 years old, hardtop convertible. So I had a $400 a month car payment that I was paying to have this convertible in LA to like be that person. I was also the
Mm-hmm.
person that like needed to valet everywhere I went, like stupid young idiot. And then I like was of course had to go and get my hair done by like Britney Spears hairstylist. That was like $400. Like I think you get caught up in like what it's supposed to be and like what it's supposed to look like
Mm-hmm.
that to fit in and like feel like you get to enjoy because there is so much cool stuff to enjoy in LA like that. If you have the money, which
There is a lot of stuff, yeah. Like
which
so much.
I mean, and I got to be honest with you, like before I bought the car, because I feel like that put a damage, but like I had $25,000 saved up for my trip to LA. And that
Mm-hmm.
$25,000 was blown in like literally 10 months. And then like let's just talk about like all the parking tickets you get.
Oh, they are so serious about parking out there.
And
They are
it's
so serious.
like you do not need to clean the streets that often.
That and all, yeah, like it has to, your car has to be moved. And also, like, a lot of the places that are in Hollywood do not offer more than one parking space. So you'll get one parking spot for the apartment, even if it's like a two bed, like whatever, like you can't have two spots unless you somehow can pay for an extra one with them, or you have to like get parking, pay for like yearly parking at like a local lot. Otherwise, like parking on the street is just really annoying having to move a car and then worry about somebody like hitting it or something like that.
It was wild. And so like moving on, luckily I had friends and actually Olga K. I was like kind of going from house to house and kind of like staying a little bit here and there. And she was just an amazing human being and like actually gave me a bed in her house for, I mean, it might have been a month or two. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm always grateful and indebted to her for like what she did for me then because it gave me the chance to get a job and like I did end up finding a job I think in like December, but it wasn't anything that anybody would be proud of. And like um it gave me the chance to like save up money to get a down payment again for like a different house because we're already like we're in January and like it's gone. Like there's no money. Like
Yeah,
it's just gone because I also
it's
went and
expensive.
I bought bedroom furniture because I only
Hmm.
went out there with what was in my car. So, it was like a $3,000 like IKEA like trip. Like
Yeah.
like the money was used just to buy basic necessities. And even when we lived in that house with the 4 bedrooms, we had no furniture. We all just got bedroom
Yeah.
furniture and there was I think we found like an old like something that we like put on the floor and we like would put some pillows down and like eat sometimes on the floor.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like that, like when people talk about their LA stories like being wild, like it's wild. I felt like a peasant among like the royals. And you can like see it and you can have access to it. If you just have enough money to enjoy it, like you're
Hmm.
welcome. You're welcome to come. And it's such a like city of who you know. And I didn't know anybody. That's why it was so hard for me to get like even a bartending job.
Yeah, like I was gonna ask you, was you're talking about all these crazy wild experiences, is there any like certain one you want to share like about like, just to kind of give everybody some insight? And it's can be whatever you want, doesn't have to be anything like too personal, but like is there like I mean, I'm trying to think here. I remember like I mean, why don't you talk about so
Well,
you
I
were there
mean,
for 8 months. Did
10.
you get a manager, 10 months? Did you get a manager while you're out there?
Oh yeah. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And
I spent $1,000 on headshots. I got a agent. I was with Levin Talent Agency, and they were great. I got some really cool auditions. I got to audition for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
oh, that's fun.
There was some HBO show about vampires. I can't remember what the show was, but I like when I mean I went out for like one really good show, like at least a month, which
Mm-hmm.
is really good in acting world. But I also felt like I moved out there without any experience.
Yeah.
Here I was, like my acting experience at 25 was high school plays and YouTube. And like my YouTube was like a very like shtick. Like I was like a man hater
But you
and
built a pretty solid character. Like you didn't deviate from it ever, you were pretty solid with it.
oh yeah, like Philly girl pissed off at the world because some guy screwed her over. I mean, that's an easy ass role for me. But I couldn't do anything else. So like even with my success on YouTube, I had a few scripts like where I was given and able to be a part of projects and I would start things, but at the end of the day, I didn't have I had the talent, I didn't have the skill.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something that once I moved home from LA and then I worked on a I'll talk more about this later, but like I did a reality show and I was still kind of back and forth from LA for about a year and a half. And then once the reality show completely fell through, that's when I was like, okay, if you're not going to let me in the front door, like then I got to work my ass off and go through the back door. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I was 27 years old, that's when I started Meisner Technique in New York City. And I studied up there for 3 years, which led me to Temple and then FSU.
Yeah.
So I've been studying acting professionally for 13 years. So, but either way, don't move out to LA if you have no experience. Spend the time to get your skills before you go out there with the big heavy hitters, unless you have a lot of money and a really famous daddy.
Or the right people. I think I've always said if you spend 10 solid years in Los Angeles, I think you'll be like by that point you'll be a paid like working actor. It doesn't mean that you're going to be an A-lister, but it definitely means that you're going to rub elbows with a lot of people. At that point, you could be doing commercials or TV or, just other spots like anywhere. And like people don't realize that working as an actor isn't just being a famous superstar. It's also you can get paid a lot of money and get benefits like through the union just by doing a lot of side stuff consistently, as long as you have a
Well,
good manager or agent.
listen, not to like move ahead, but that's exactly kind of what we were going to go into a little bit too.
Oh yeah,
Because
I would dive into it.
yeah, they're currently on strike, so we'll try to explain that in a bit. So, so yeah, so pretty much I did end up getting on my feet, got an apartment, and then after I think it was like two flat tires and like two tickets that I didn't pay that were outstanding that had built up a little bit that like
Okay.
just made me go home where I had to like ask my family for help and they were like, "We'll help you, but you have to move home."
Hmm.
Because we're not gonna, like, pay your rent out there, like, we'll buy you out of the hole, but
Yeah.
then you have to, like, come back here where you have a real job. And that was really hard, like, the climb, man. Like, you were just like, "Wow, there's just gonna have to be some other mountain that I'm gonna have to climb." Like, it was an ending of a dream because I definitely moved out there with a dream. I definitely thought that, like, I was gonna make it. And I never felt like I really fit in anywhere, and I went, like, on a visit there for, like, a wedding, when I was a bit younger. I think I was, like, 21, 22 before I moved out there, and I just, like, felt I was like, "This is where I belong." And it's so interesting, like, this, like, longing like this, like, even in my, like, heart center, like, it felt really good, and it felt like it was meant to be there. And I like knew I was going to come back. And so maybe I just kind of like affirmed that and then, just had to make it happen. And it was also a huge growing experience for me because I had never lived outside of my parents' home
Hmm.
before that moment. So like my first time being on my own and like being
That's a big
fully
deal.
like is literally in California. So I don't know. And like now I like who was I when I left? I was bulimic when I left. I was broke. I felt dead inside. I felt like I had no idea who I was. I felt like I'd lost myself, like I'd lost my dream. Um, I had almost so close resort, is that the word? Last resort. My
Yeah,
like almost
that's
went to
good.
the last resort of like actually sleeping with somebody to make money because it was super easy. Like I was getting into like going out on a date with an old man and I didn't have to do anything with him. That you just get paid $200 to do something like that. And this is like
Wow.
so normal there. Like even
Yeah.
when I watch
Hmm.
TikToks now, like most girls fall into it and I feel like I ended up choosing like I'm gonna go home instead of doing this because like I was offered $5,000 by this like
Wow.
disgusting skinny little like man to have sex with him once. $5,000 is what he would have paid me.
Wow.
Obviously I said no. I would still be living in LA. Um and then another
Tempting, but no.
Yeah, and this is just by like working,
Yeah.
like you run into these people that just offer these things to women,
Yeah.
to beautiful
Hmm.
women all the time. And so, um, like another person offered me, he said he would just, and this guy was like a doctor, like probably only 15 years older than me. He wasn't like,
Hmm.
and like he just wanted to, every Friday night take me out to dinner, treat me like a princess, and then I would have sex with him and he would give me $1,000.
That was like his, this
That's
is,
what he was looking for. I guess
yeah.
he just used to always having somebody and he had an opening and he wanted to fill it. I don't know. And I was like, no, and so, but I was like, wow, like, because it is tempting because you're like, wow, I wouldn't have to work at all. I would just make $4,000 a month and I'm literally just dating somebody. I guess there's a lot of girls out there that might take that, but like,
Yeah.
it was just like wild to me, like how apparent, like, and then when there's such a lore, such a like special sparkle about this city. And then after living there, I was like, there is nothing special about this place. I did get Hollywood tattooed on my ass, l-
Yes, I know
like
about that.
crying, listening to the climb. And then I was like, I can't ever forget this. Like, I have to remember this forever. And now I'm like, now I like you'll find out soon, but I'm not like the biggest fan of Hollywood anymore. And I'm like, why is this my only tattoo? Like, talk about like regrets. Um, so that's a thing. It's actually not on my ass. I just like saying that because it's funny. It's a tramp stamp, which is probably
Yes.
worse. It's probably worse.
Let me clarify for you. I think it's a great story. I think there's a
I love
lot of
that
story
story.
behind it. There's a lot of story from the past, but it also ties it to the future. And it's not just that, like, I guess everybody will find out later that, like, her leaving Hollywood, it was like, I remember it was just like disappointing, not, I hate Hollywood. Like you still liked it, you still missed it for a
Mhm.
while, but then like that has changed and it has nothing to do with like really that part. Well, I guess it ties together, but it's like you connect the pieces now. You're like, oh, okay.
And this only started tying together like in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And like, after enough Netflix documentaries, you're like, these people aren't that good, are they?
Yeah.
But so let's get into what your experience was like.
It's not the same as yours, but it is still I still have like a similar, so like I went out to Hollywood after Katie came home, correct?
Yeah, I
came
came
back.
home in 2009, like August 2009.
Yeah. So I went in 2011 and I went because I met a guy who was going to Hollywood. And I was like, well, that would be fun. And my mother lived in San Diego. And I was like, that would be cool too, to be able to be closer to her, but also be out there with somebody that I know, or that that I want to be with. So we weren't actually dating when I found out that he was going to Hollywood. We started dating, and like 3 months later, it was kind of like, well, I'm going to be going in November if you want to come with me. And I was like, yeah, of course,
That's
let's
so
do
cool.
this. So I remember thinking I'll just save a ton of money and I'll go out there. And worst case, I know I'll have a job back if I need it. But like I had gone to school for theater. So I graduated with a bachelor's in theater and communications. And since graduating, I had done like some background work for like a major film, which was really fun. And then I started diving into like short films to sort of get used to that, get that under my belt, because all of my background was in theater, wasn't in film. So it's different. It's a different style of acting all around. So anyways,
I disagree with you, but that's for another conversation.
well, it's not. It's just film picks up your subtle movements, whereas like
Yeah,
if you're
you're telling
too
the story in a different way.
yeah, you're just too, if you need to be big on stage and loud, you can't do that on camera,
Right. Yeah,
So
the volume definitely
it's really,
changes.
that's the difference.
Yeah.
So anyways,
So my bad.
no, it's fine.
My
Um,
acting teacher self couldn't shut up.
no, it's fine, fine. So I back to my train of thought here. Hold on. So I went to California and I got to road trip out there and I saw a ton of states on the way. It took 2 weeks, so it was really cool to see a whole bunch of America with this guy I was freshly dating within like 6 months, 7 months. It was like this huge adventure. It was so much fun. Um, my little dog, Angel, was with us the whole way too. So we both have that. That's similar. Um,
Doggies.
he was older though. He was probably like 12 or 13 or something. Um, so we get out there and we already had a place set up. Um, and it was like that. Everybody calls it like this 90210 style, like where there's, I guess it's just like that horseshoe apartment complex where the center is like the pool area and there was like trees and stuff. And I've never seen anything like that in person.
Mm.
So I remember just thinking, this is so cool, like just a whole different world. And I met so many characters, um, so many. Like any character you've ever seen in a film, I've met them in like Hollywood. Like just personalities, like the stoner, like the drug dealer, the model, I mean, I don't even want to get into all, but like you can understand where I'm going with this. So, um everybody that lived in that apartment complex was a character.
Mm.
This was They were so different and so unique. Each one of them was not the same. Um, but we got along with all of them. I remember we had this big fight with one of the ladies that like sort of helped manage the place because Mark and I would go out and we'd go like, I remember one time we were on like the background of a set one time. We were working just background, like background actors. And it was a late night shoot. And we got home and they were convinced that we were shooting a porno in our apartment. Yeah. I guess she looked at Mark and I at that time. I had this real edgy dark hair, like black hair look. And Mark looked like a rocker with like long curly hair and I don't know what they were thinking, but I guess they just assumed that they've been there a long time, so they've seen everything themselves. So I guess they were pretty convinced. It turns out it was my dog howling in the bathroom,
While
like
you guys
on
were on the
repeat the
shoot.
whole time. Like I didn't even know that he
Oh
was
my
howling
God,
that
they
bad.
thought that was you having sex. That's so
Yeah, how horrible. Like, I don't, I was a little insulted, to be honest with you. Because it was like this. This is the sound I could do. It was like, oh, oh. I mean, if I sound like that, there's a problem. Like,
Oh my God, I can't.
that's literally what he sounded like. So I used to have to like put him to sleep in the bathroom with spa music and like pretend to be in the shower. And he would lay down and think, because if he thought I was home, he'd be like, okay.
I
And then
remember this.
I would climb out of the shower while he was
Would
resting.
keep
And
the water on?
no, I just, no, because the music was playing. So the music helped like mask, but I would have the curtain closed and I'd have to climb out, and that would last for a while. Eventually, he'd get up and start sniffing and realize I wasn't there. But I used to have to trick him all the time, like,
Oh,
because he
I
had such,
babysat him a few times, so
yes, you
I've
did.
known, and he would howl just because you weren't there. But then, like, eventually he would be like, okay, if just like I was there.
Yes, like, all right, somebody's here. And he just really, I felt so bad for him. So, anyways,
Poor
I was
thing.
trying to tell her, no, it's my dog. Do you know what happened was when we got home that late that night, we didn't find out till the next morning because she left for work that day and blasted her music on purpose because she was the apartment below us. So she kept it on blast, and it was her, I don't want to say her name. It was just so loud, and it was like early in the morning, and Mark are like, what is going on? And like, we're still getting used to the place. We don't understand it. We did talk to everybody like once or twice and introduce ourselves. We didn't know what was going on. And we go down there, we're knocking on the door. She's not answering. She's not home. So there's this guy that lived next to us. His name was Marco. And he was one of those characters. He was very nice though. Very, very nice. But he was, I think he that was her boyfriend, but we're not even sure if that was her. I don't know why they live separate. I don't know. Long story short, he's like, "No, man, she was like pissed." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because, she thought you guys were like shooting like a porno or something in there." And I was like, "What?" And I'm like, he's like, yeah, she came out a bunch of times. She was like banging on your door. And I'm like, oh my God. So literally, then the whole complex must have heard her angry. And then she probably told everybody that we were doing that. It was just like crazy. Then when we tried to have a conversation with her, she didn't believe me. She literally was like, that was your dog. Like, I don't believe you. Like, had convinced herself that that's what was going on.
Well, you're gonna be
And
shooting a lot of pornos because your
oh
dog's
my
gonna be howling again.
God. I'm telling you. So for a while we had to convince her. Then we ended up leaving that apartment. And another interesting thing about like that area, Hollywood Boulevard itself, that a lot of people that haven't been there like aren't aware of, is it's very dirty because it doesn't rain very often.
Oh, that's a good point.
So what happens is you will get the smell of like even on the sides of the streets where there's like a little bit of sand between the sidewalk and the street curb, and like people will their dogs will pee and stuff like that, like walking the dog. And oftentimes like you'll if it's like hot out or the right kind of weather, like you'll get like a real hard hint of like urine, and it's because the rain is just not coming down as often as it does here. But I remember that I was like, wow, this is I used to feel really bad for people coming on tours to see Hollywood because I'm like, you don't realize that this is not as big as you thought it was, and this is going to be like a one and done like day for you. And it's probably not going to be as exciting as you thought it was because celebrities don't hang out on Hollywood Boulevard. They stay away from that area, generally,
Yeah.
unless they're going to like a nightclub or like somewhere like a certain bar. But so all right, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. We moved to Studio City and we really enjoyed that apartment there. We had like a two-bedroom and it was really big, but we was less money than I feel like the other one. Studio City is right over the hill and like right over the
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 mountain,
Hollywood.
the valley.
Yeah. So, but it's like right on the other side. So it's like very close still to everything. And that was like a different vibe. It was more of like a suburban, would you call it, like area?
I think it's genius. I always tell people if they're moving there now, do not move to Hollywood, do not
Yeah.
move to West Hollywood, move to the Valley.
Yeah.
Because Studio
Hmm.
City is one of the city or one of I don't know if it's a city or town or whatever because it's all LA or
Yeah.
neighborhood, but like that's just one of the neighborhoods in the Valley, and the Valley is always cheaper because you can get a one bedroom for what you'd be paying for a studio.
Yeah.
And like you said, it might even be a little bit cheaper. I mean, that was also like 15 years ago, so I don't know what it is
It's
right now.
probably changed.
The
But
Valley is like has everything that Hollywood has. Like every good restaurant has like a second
yeah.
one in the Valley. Like once you're like live in the Valley, you never want to leave. You're like, oh my God, it's so amazing here.
When you
But I
say the
also
valley, it reminds me of like Clueless when Cher's like, "Is that in the valley?" Like,
yeah, like
that's
who
the
would ever
valley.
like who would ever go there? She wouldn't be caught dead in the Valley. So that's because she's from Beverly Hills.
Yes,
And then I
yes.
always like what's the other one? Silver Lake.
Yeah.
That
Silver
became,
Lake
like,
is really nice.
super, like, the hipster kinda, like, up and coming. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just love the vibe over there. There's so many amazing vibes. Like, I love LA. I love LA restaurants.
Oh yeah, the food was so Mark and I still talk about it to this day. We're like, you could get like so many different unique places. And I guess you could get that in New York City as well, but it's a city, they're major cities. Like you're gonna get that on both ends, but different. Like it's yeah, like you said on the vibe, it's a different atmosphere all around. I
Yeah.
was gonna say, I think, before we get too deep on the, dislikes of Hollywood, like the Mulholland Drive, like driving along that and going down Laurel Canyon and the other canyon. Do you remember what that one was called? There was
Mm,
two canyons that you could use to get over, and I remember
yeah,
like I like to take those instead of like the 101 or
the highway.
yeah, like I like to take those. And that's another funny thing is that you say the 101 or the 405. You don't just call it 405.
Like, 95.
Yeah.
Well, so I the other really fun thing about when I lived there, um, they didn't have directions on your phone yet, and I would have to
Oh.
MapQuest to get to my audition, and I would have to double the if MapQuest said that it was gonna take me 30 minutes to get there, I had to
Oh, forget
double
it.
the time and add 15 minutes. So I would leave an hour and 15 minutes ahead of time, and, like, like, you had to, but doubling it and adding 15 minutes, I was always on time. It's ridiculous, though, like, how bad the
The time,
traffic is.
yeah, the traffic is
And
what they say.
oh
It
my
is
god,
insane.
and the smog, like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
I was in Philly, and then I guess I never realized I was in Philly my whole life, so whatever, I've been inhaling the shit for a while. But, like, when the Canadian fires came over this summer and, like, came through our region, I'd be in Ben Salem and I was like, "Oh, it's a little muggy out," like, I see the smoke a little bit. But when I
Yeah.
would go into Philadelphia, when you add the pollution that's already there and how muggy and, like, how you could barely see very
Yeah.
far, like, then you were like, "Oh, wow, like, that's crazy." Like, I can actually see the pollution in the air right now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I just wish I could, like, live in the mountains or on a beach and have fresh air, that would be so nice.
It would be
If
one
only
day,
I was
right?
if only I was rich.
Even them, unfortunately, may not even be getting all that fresh air.
So I wanna know, like, who you were before you moved to LA and who you were after, if you felt like there was a difference for you.
Yeah. So the goal of moving out there was different for me. I said, I wanted to pursue acting. Like I thought, okay, this is a great place to go do that. But then I was also excited to be close to my mom. My mom was very sick at the time and she ended up dying while I was out there. So it's one of those things where it's like this was meant to be. Like I was meant to come here so that I could be there for when she died. Like I spent the whole week with her. So it was just really, and I got to see her. Like I got there in November 2011. She died in um August 2012. Yeah, August. So I got that much time to go visit her back and forth and see my brother who lived in San Diego as well because he was predominantly like caring for her. So anyways, but who
Yeah,
I
so
was
it was meant
before,
to be. And check out the death episode
yeah,
in season 2, I think.
yeah,
Because that you can hear Mariah's whole story with her mom and my dad's death story too, if you're interested at all. But just
yeah,
wanted to plug that. Go ahead, Mo.
yeah, I was thinking about it. Um, so when I got out there, like I didn't know what to expect. I definitely was like had the attitude of like I'm gonna do something. Like I'm gonna get these auditions. Like I felt a little bit more confident being out there and excited for something new. Um, and I started getting met with like I remember one audition. I came in and the guy said, I remember I got a call back. It was for like this Southern role. And it was a cool, I remember it being like a really cool film. And the role wasn't huge, but it was like a support, would you call it a supporting character or like a character that was like, because they weren't throughout the whole thing. So I'm not sure what you would call that. But
Yeah, I don't know.
she was like a special character that was like, you would remember her. And I
Yeah, so it could be
remember,
supporting. If you support the plot, I think supporting could count.
so she was like this Southern like personality, but I think she was a little bit of a harlot and I loved it. I was like, this is so fun. Um, and I found out on the first audition, they said I saw a bunch of blondes in the room. No, no, not the first audition. I got called back, and one of the questions I had was like, "Would you dye your hair?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Like, give me a reason to go blonde. It'd be so fun." But I remember looking around the room and there was like, I was the only brunette there and it was all blondes getting called back for the audition. And I felt like, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I had something extra in my eyes, like as a brunette that they saw. And it was like, they're going to bring me in, unlike Diamond. Like, I don't know. I remember that really lifting me up and being
Mm.
really excited about it. And the guy, I came into the room and his first question to me, I actually met, I feel like it was the producer. And he looks at my headshots and he goes, these aren't really good headshots. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, like, this is my callback. Like, why are we talking about my headshots? Like, you called me back. Like,
Yeah, like why
this
do you
isn't my
even
first audition.
care?
Right. Like, this is weird. So then he goes, um, well, I have a guy that'll take better headshots. Like, here, take my card and you go get them done by him. And he was serious, like I needed to call this guy, and and then it was like to me, it was like if I don't do that, like let's say I do this audition and then I don't do that, then like are you gonna cut me because like I didn't take your like advice? Like I was already starting to get that vibe from him, and I just kind of looked at him like, okay, like kind of confused and a little annoyed. And so I did my audition and that was that, and he didn't call me back, and I feel like because he got that vibe from me that I was like not having his like comment, so I excluded myself at that point. But I realized that was my first encounter with like, you're gonna do it my way, and you're gonna do what I want you to do, and if you don't do it, like goodbye. And I was luckily in the headspace to say, all right, goodbye, like at that point, because I knew I was like nobody was going to push me to do something that I didn't want to do. So then there was another audition where I was with I just like this is part of the vibe like that I went in feeling like I'm here to like get more confident in myself and try to make something happen, but also not let somebody like push me over. Um Then there was this other like famous soap opera lady that was the producer. She like casts like a ton of soap operas. And not that I wanted to be on one, but at that point, you're just like, you have to sort of take whatever's coming your way audition wise. Like you have to just go. And we were saying how Katie, like today, it's like probably way different, luckily for people. Cause like for us, it was like, this is your audition, like go check it out. Like take whatever you can, like whatever you think you're fit for. So I remember I ended up taking a class with this producer lady, and she was really pleased with me. I remember I did a scene for her, And she like used me as an example and was like, that was really good. So I was very happy and proud that like she was thrilled with me. Just like another one of those, like, all right, I'm on the right track here. And then I knew I still had the phone number for one of the casting agents for that huge film that I was in back in Philly before I moved to California. And I like just ballsy, I decided to like email or text. I forget what it was, but I just, hey, like, I don't know if you're still, I'm in LA, da da da. And she was like so friendly, so nice. And she was like, oh my God, absolutely. Like, I can totally help you out. So she actually got me audition
Oh,
with that casting director. And
dope.
I practiced so hard and I got off book. I knew my lines. I was like so excited for this role, right? And I wait my turn. I remember when I was waiting in the lobby, I remember staring at an Emmy like in the casing and I was like, yeah, this is so cool. Like I am like legit auditioning for some like big stuff here, you know? Like even if it's small scheme stuff for other people, it's like really big. So
Hell yeah.
I I get in the room and the producer was there that I had the class with, and I don't know that she remembered me, but I remembered her. And she asked me if I had my scene, my lines, and I was like, yes. Like I was just so excited, but I was like, yes, I have them, but I didn't need them. And one of the things I forgot was when we were taking a class with her, she said, always hold your lines, whether you need them or not. And I didn't. And I think that was her way of like, when I said, yes, I do, and I didn't get them, it was like I was written off in that moment before I even started the scene. And that was like something that like really bugged me because I'm like, I got this positive feel, and maybe it's just like my own like issue, you know? But in the end, I was like, I don't like that. Like, if I can do it, like, let me do it. But if you're going to tell me you didn't hold your lines and, like, sorry, like, if that's the reason why, like, that's really annoying. Like, I'd rather you say, it was okay.
Dude,
And,
I literally, that's like, I wonder if it's your story or somebody else's, but I've heard that so many times that I drill that into my students.
uh-huh.
Because the reason is that I tell them is that it makes them, the producer, whoever's sitting in the chair in front of you, extremely uncomfortable. Because if there's 10 people that don't hold their lines, one of them's going to forget their lines and they're not
Okay.
going to give you anything.
Yeah.
Like you're just going to have to leave the room. Like they literally don't, it makes them uncomfortable and they don't want to have to, like you have to save yourself as a professional actor. So no matter what, they start to feel uncomfortable by not you because they feel like they have to like be available or something in case something happens because they
Yeah.
see it all day long that nobody ever remembers shit.
Well,
And you be in the
I
moment
get
and
the theory behind it.
and you're nervous and all of a sudden you could just blank out and it's going to happen,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
once in a
sure.
while.
I feel like
Either
if it
way.
does, like,
But
then you
I
should go. It's
totally
not meant
feel
for
you
you.
too. Like it's also not fair that people can just like write you off for one little thing and that like that industry like mirrors that so much. And it's
Yeah.
like that other guy that you said, like that one was just awful. Like it's like he's trying to force you to like give somebody he knows business and that's how they like make each other money in a way. And those are
Yeah.
the people that are only and like they're also testing in my opinion like who they can control.
Yeah.
Bec-
I agree. Mm-hmm.
because that's like a big thing I think which Hollywood started to lose is control once the streaming network started coming out.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime and Netflix are new and they're not like affiliated with Hollywood and they
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood didn't like having them around. And rightfully so because they were used to like if they wanted to write an actress off, they were like, "You know what? We can't control her." Or we
Mm-hmm.
can't control him. They have a wild mouth. They would just agree collectively, we're not going to hire them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so once Netflix came around, they were like, well, we'll make your movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so they started to lose control, and I think that's kinda like when their story kind of started unraveling.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, really quick, because I don't wanna cut you off, like, how do you think you felt, like, when you left LA? Like, experiencing that, where did your acting career go? Where did it leave you feeling with those, like, negative experiences?
Well, I mean, aside from those, there is a lot of really fun experiences, and there was things that I did work on. There was other opportunities, like that was all within like the first year. By the second year, or like after the first year was done, um, it was, I remember Mark came to me and was kind of feeling like he knew that our relationship was gonna keep going, and he's like, "I don't think I wanna, like, be out here, like, to get engaged or married and all that." He's like, I and he checked in to see if that was, like, something that I would wanna do. Not that we were gonna do that, but, like, we both understood that that was, like, the future, and, like, I was 28 at that point, so I was getting older, and I was like, it was a little bad timing in a way for myself, because if I went out there maybe earlier, I probably would have got chewed up and spit out. But if like I had more time and I didn't want to like get married and start a family, then that would have been different. So he brought it to me and we decided to go home, and we left like August, yeah, the end of July 2013. And we road tripped back home. So we sort of closed the door on Hollywood. And it wasn't that, I think we both agreed that it was a really cool experience, but it wasn't where we wanted to stay. We missed the East Coast. We missed the people. We missed family. And we knew that that's where we were going to end up. And what we were gonna do from that point on was still, like, a possibility of, like, doing acting stuff, but we knew that we were gonna have to get regular jobs and just kind of focus on getting stable and doing that all over again. But then I got engaged within, like, what we came home in August, I got engaged in January the
Mm,
next year. So then it was just focused on family. So my view on Hollywood just kind of faded. And it was really just that it was a fun experience. It was eye-opening. I learned a lot out there. I got to see a lot of things. Met and hung out with a lot of celebrities, which was really cool because that's one of those things I think we all think about with like being famous, is like being around like famous people and kind of doing what they do or seeing what they do. And then that whole vibe sort of changed now. Like I feel like we could talk about that now, Katie. We could talk about like what our feelings are on. So leaving Hollywood was different than how I feel today on the whole view of it. Like today, I look back and I say, I'm glad that I left. um, I made a good choice. Um, I'm happy that I went there though. Like it's part of that youthful journey of experiencing the good and the bad, right? Like getting like kind of learning for yourself. I think that for me, that was something that not everybody could say they did. And I got to see it. I got to see the other end of it. And I got to see the other side of a camera, and what goes on and learn about all that. So, and that was just something that I was interested in. So, maybe not everybody's interested in all that, but for me it was. So, how about you? Like when you do you I know we talked a little bit about how you felt when you left, but like how do you feel now?
yeah, I feel like it's just really fake. Like, everything that I thought it was and what I wanted it to be. Like, also, like, when I left, I still had, like, really, like, pure feelings, like, for there, and, like, if I could move back, like, I would totally would. Um, like, it was on my vision board.
Mhm.
New York and LA with a plane in between.
Just going back and
Oh,
forth,
yeah,
right?
that was me, that was gonna be me. Um, but, yeah, so now I just kind of feel, like, betrayed in a way. Like, something that, like, I thought that I might
Mm.
have had a chance to join, like, knowing what I know now, I know that I never would have made it into their little club. Like I just
But you wouldn't want to be there.
I wouldn't want to be there, but I just know, knowing what I know now, I'm like super loud, over the top. It's just, I just know it wasn't like, I wasn't what they would ever be looking for. Um, which is totally cool. And I think I'm glad that they didn't choose me. And I'm glad that I, had to learn that lesson like a hard way.
So I think we're going to close this one off because we've talked a lot and we have so much more to talk about. So, Katie, please take this away.
We had so much fun talking about our Hollywood stories, our own personal stories. So we gave you a little bit of taste, but definitely come back for part two. We'll be putting that up in a week or so, and listen to what we have to say about Hollywood and everything that's going on in the industry right now.
So, we'll see you on Hollywood Part 2 next week on What Makes the Heartbeat.